Hey everyone, and welcome to my top 10 train catches. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at memorable train catches that I've seen since I began the channel in 2015. Before we get started, I want to note that these were all picked based on how I thought the shots looked and the story behind it. So let's get to it. Starting at number 10 is Southern Pacific 1518 meeting Santa Fe 92 at the Illinois Railway Museum on August 8, 2021. This train catch occurred during the last day of Diesel Days weekend at the Illinois Railway Museum. This one makes the list because the Southern Pacific and the Santa Fe happen to be two of my favorite fallen flag railroads. However, you may be thinking to yourself, why would I put this one down at a number 10 instead of a top 5? The reason behind it is because this can always be done again in the near future. Who knows that maybe this might happen again in the next year or so. These two engines are not planning to go anywhere outside the Illinois Railway Museum property anytime soon. Number 9 was a pretty significant one, especially for those who have followed the channel in the beginning. On December 17, 2017, I made a short visit to LaGrange, Illinois on the BNSF racetrack before heading to the Illinois Railway Museum for the Happy Holiday train. What occurred to me was an ordinary BNSF freight train passing by. When the end of the train passed by, my jaw dropped when I saw the BNSF fake bonnet and the Amtrak Cascades F59 PHI were on the end of the train, and it quickly became a popular catch on the channel. So it's only fitting that this one makes the list. To this day, I still sometimes shake my head and question it. What's even more ironic is that this same exact locomotive found a new home in Chicago running Metro commuter trains. Sticking with the F59 PHI theme, we move on to number 8 with the maiden run of Metro F59 PHI number 90, the Chicago Northwestern Heritage Unit in Des Plaines, Illinois on October 7, 2020. I was quite looking forward to this one because of how everything worked out that day. I had everything planned out and I couldn't ask for a better timing since I had something else planned before I found out about this significant event. What makes this even better was Metro MP36PH 402 was also on the same train. It's usually pretty cool when two or more special painted locomotives are on the same train, but the fact that this was a maiden run made it even more unique. Speaking of special painted units, number 7 ranks as my favorite Amtrak train catch, featuring Amtrak P42DC 156 paired with Amtrak 184 leading the Empire Builder number 7 at Russell, Illinois on March 18, 2020. Even though it was drizzling that afternoon, I honestly wouldn't change it a bit. What makes this unique about this day was the fact that this occurred during the early part of the COVID-19 pandemic. Thankfully, this location was about 5 to 10 minutes away from home while still taking the necessary precautions to get this shot, and it definitely was well worth it. Number 6 is a nail biter, as this one features BNSF-9676 back on March 19, 2018. Around this time, I was starting to find what I like doing along the tracks. It was a gorgeous spring day to begin a wonderful spring break. What I ended up doing was taking the day to see trains on the BNSF racetrack in Hinsdale, Illinois. When I looked east, I noticed a headlight coming from the west with a speck of red on it. When it got closer, I realized it was a former Santa Fe war bonnet coming at me. Minutes later, I looked behind me and there was another train heading towards me. At that time, I was so nervous I didn't know what to do. What ended up happening was quickly repositioning my cameras in hopes of making it work. Once the two trains passed, I immediately looked to see if I got the shot of the war bonnet. It was extremely close, but I definitely got it. Ultimately, it ended up being my highlight as I came home very happy that day. And now we enter the top 5. At number 5, we stick with the Santa Fe Railway theme featuring BNSF SD40-2 1755 at Rochelle, Illinois on March 26, 2021. This train catch ranks 5th because of how rare the Santa Fe Blue Bonnet locomotives are starting to become. At that time, I made a brief change in my rail fanning schedule to make the trip to Rochelle after hearing about BNSF 1755 being in that area for quite some time. What didn't occur to me was how perfect it was when they let a decent-sized freight train through the railroad park on a chilly spring day. Even though the sun didn't come out to make the shot better, I was still pleased of how it turned out. Number 4 on my list is something that I've never seen before. Central Maine and Quebec SD40-2F locomotives. What makes this interesting was that these two engines were put in front of a CSX freight train that originally was led by a Canadian Pacific AC44C6M and Canadian Pacific ST70 ACU 7023. However, these two engines were experiencing mechanical problems which put CMQ 9020 and 9022 at the front of the train, which went all the way to Schiller Park, Illinois on June 21, 2020. Many of my fellow railfan friends and other Chicago rail fans gathered along the tracks to watch this unique train. Number 3 features Union Pacific AC44-6310, which is a former Southern Pacific locomotive. As of the recording of this video, there are currently 7 other Southern Pacific AC44 locomotives that have yet to be repainted by the Union Pacific Railroad. One of my personal goals is to catch one of them, but as each year passed, it didn't seem likely and it was not going to be accomplished. However, I got that chance on July 26, 2020. Not only I had the opportunity to pace it from Deerfield to Lake Forest, I also got to chase it at Russell and Franksville on the CPCNM subdivision. As of this recording, it currently remains as my favorite train catch on this line. Number 2 is also another Southern Pacific patched locomotive, Union Pacific GP6D 1066. This was a great train catch because these SP patch engines are even harder to find. Not only did I get the chance to see it many times, but it was very photogenic. But if I had to pick one video that stands out, it would have to be the shot where it led a short freight train across the bridge at Wilmington, Illinois, rounding the slight curve with lots of horn action. Before we get to the top pick, let's look at some honorable mentions. My all-time favorite train catch may be no surprise to anyone, but it has to be Union Pacific Big Boy 4014 and Union Pacific 844 in Morgan, Utah on May 8, 2019. Not only did I take the week off to travel there to meet the UP Steam team and witness two unique steam locomotives, I got to witness history by celebrating the 150th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad at Promontory Summit as well. Out of all the times I've seen trains along the tracks, this one hits me with lots of chills and tears of joy because of nostalgia and history that I witnessed that day with millions of people, which makes this train catch so special. Well, that wraps up my top 10 train catches. Which ones are your favorites? Let me know in the comments section below. While you're at it, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring the bell to get immediate notifications on latest posts and updates. Lastly, I invite you to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat for more railroad content. Until next time, my name is Andrew Mangalindan, and I'll see you along the tracks.